On this episode of Locked On Angels, Christian Moore is impressing this spring by doing one simple thing off the field. We're going to tell you what that is. The Halos may have unveiled their opening day lineup yesterday. We're going to talk about that and, of course, recap yesterday's game. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube and leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And this episode of Locked On Angels is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
It's our fourth season as the host of Locked On Angels. We're here talking Angels baseball Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, every single weekday, talking about your favorite team, getting into the nitty-gritty, Michael, and I think it's a good day to continue our Halos conversation as we are, oh my goodness, a week away from opening day. How about that? Man, if I can make it, I'm going to try not to sneeze. I've been going off camera to sneeze. And if I survive until opening day, that would be fantastic. But the spring allergies are catching up with me. On today's show, Christian Moore has impressed this spring by doing this one simple thing. I had to think about that for a second. And then, of course, the Angels might have shown us their possible opening day lineup. And before we get to that conversation, let's actually talk about the way the Angels lined up against the Guardians yesterday.
Yeah, here's the lineup. Again, we'll talk about it in our second segment, but Taylor Ward led off. Nolan Shawnoel batted second. Mike Trout at 3. Jorge Soler, number 4. O'Hoppe, Tim Anderson, Rengifo, Adell, and Newman. Let's talk about some offensive takeaways, John. Trout, Adell, and Ward played the whole game, which was great to see. And then Jo Adell had a nice bounce back day, 3 for 4 with a double and a 2-run home run. The arrogant face on the audio side. You got to come over to YouTube just to see the arrogant face of the Stan John Frisch.
Not being arrogant, Mike. Not being arrogant.
He also scored on a Taylor Ward single. I like that we saw a good bat from Jo Adell.
Yeah.
I am not surprised that he came through, and this feels a bit like his inconsistent self that we saw last year. So days like this are awesome. If he could just put days like this together more often, I think that more people would probably sit the way that you sat with that arrogant face and the hands behind the head. I think that's been the biggest tension with him, right?
Yeah, 100% agree with you. It's got to be consistency, and it's the thing that it's overthinking what he's doing up there. And Ron Washington spoke to Trent Rush after the game and said he can't fight it. He's just got to work through it, and he's got to keep doing what he's doing. And I think you have a tendency, if you're a ball player, to maybe if I should do something different. He also spoke, and Jeff Fletcher of the OC Register talked to Wash as well, and he said it's just Joe's timing. It's just been off, and so whatever it is he needs to do to get that timing mechanism right, whether it's the foot lift or the toe tap or whatever the case is, he's just got to stick to a good timing to have some consistency. So yes, I will be fully arrogant, but I will also say, yes, he has to show some consistency, Mike. And that's really what it comes down to with Jo Adell. But it was good to see him do the things that he does well, really well. Hit that double, hit that 2-run home run. He had a little infield kind of dribbler that he beat out because the bag wasn't being covered over at first base. And he looked good in the outfield too, so that was exciting to see. We got to see what we might get from Trout and Soler. Trout didn't have a hit in this game, but he did work a walk in the 8th inning. And then Soler hit him over to third base. Kyron Paris got an infield base hit to score Trout. And then the Angels piled on for 5 runs on this Guardians team. It was a split squad, so it wasn't the full Guardians team, but they were going up against one of their best relievers that the Guardians have. That's also when Jo Adell hit that home run. Mike, tough day for Logan O'Hoppe batting fifth. Talk about that.
Yeah, he had a couple of chances to deliver, one with the bases loaded, but he struck out in all 4 of his appearances. Nolan Shonowell, 1 for 3 in that number 2 hole. Taylor Ward, 1 for 4 with an RBI, struck out twice. Jorge Soler, 2 for 3 with a walk and a run. And then Tim Anderson had a hit in this game. John, what Mike Trout did in this game is why Mike Trout needs to be in this lineup every day.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't get a hit, but he drew a walk. And that's been the missing piece for the last 5 years for the Angels, is Trout being in there for 140, 150 games. He will get on base in those innings where you need to score runs. He will get on base in those games where they're struggling to get on base. And he's really great when he's on base. He knows when he needs to stretch from first to third. He knows when he just needs to take one bag. He knows when he needs to score. There's just a baseball IQ that the Angels have not had because Mike Trout hasn't been in there, that when he's there, even an 0 for 4 day, Mike Trout draws a walk, right? And gets on base and ends up starting the scoring drive that the Angels needed so desperately in this one.
100%. Yeah. If he's not going to get on base via a hit, he's at least going to get a walk. It seems like every game he's able to do that. That's why his on base percentage is so good. Mike, Tyler Anderson got the start on the mound with some great defense behind him. There were a couple highlights from Tyler Anderson. Tim Anderson actually turned an incredible double play at second in the top of the first. Mike, I think I'm ready to say that I'm okay with Tim Anderson making the opening day roster. There was something about the way he was playing yesterday that just made me go, yeah, he's got it together. He might not be all the way back, right? Who knows if he'll be a batting champion again or something like that. But the fact is, he looks so much better out there than he did a year ago when he was trying to work his way back with the Marlins. So, yeah, I think I'm ready to say I'm okay with Tim Anderson on this roster, especially given the circumstances around some of the injuries in the infield and things like that. Top of the second, Tyler Anderson got a 3-pitch strikeout to start the inning. There was a grounder that came back to Anderson. It went off his glove. If he left it alone, probably would have been a double play ball, but that run ended up scoring from second. And so that was the only earned run that Tyler Anderson gave up. Top of the third, Brian Rocchio had a really long at bat against Tyler Anderson, but he got him out in front with that changeup and then a line out to Kevin Newman, who made an awesome dive over there at short. It was a snow cone catch. Free snow cone. Free snow cone. See if anybody knows that reference in the comments. Free snow cone at the end of the game. Top of the fourth, Mike, there was a leadoff triple from Manzardo and then a base hit to right field that fell in front of Mike Trout. But Trout caught a hesitating Manzardo over at third, got it into Ohapi, and it was a great throw. And I went, you know what? Trout's arm is going to play really well in right versus center field, where it's not always been the greatest, but I think coming from right field, it's going to be a really great arm out there. Trout made some great plays out there in addition to, getting that runner out at home and throwing it into Logan Ohapi. So some good news there. Take us to the top of the fifth, Mike.
It was a quick inning for Tyler Anderson, leadoff single, and then an easy pickoff. The runner left early from first base, and then a pop out to Tim Anderson at second, then a fly out to Mike Trout in right field. 6 pitches only on Trout in right field. We haven't seen much of him outside of running some good routes and making some good catches. It's his arm that's probably the worst of him out there. So it was good to see yesterday him taking advantage of the hesitation of a runner and throwing him out. I think Trout, he's smart enough to know when he can gun somebody out, and he's smart enough to know when he needs to hit the cutoff man. So I do like him out there, and it was a benefit to Tyler Anderson, who finished the day in the 6th inning with a double play and a pop-up. Anderson, 6 innings, 74 pitches. That's great pitch efficiency. I love that. 1 earned run, 5 hits, no walks, and 3 Ks. It felt like he was really working to establish his fastball early, then throw his changeup. He got into a groove despite some runners on base. Didn't let the hits bother him. I didn't count all of the F words that he let out, but it seemed like it was less than before, right?
Yeah.
It didn't bother him. And then it did feel like Tyler Anderson from the first half of last year, right? And his numbers are not going to be great for his FIP, right? But he did keep a lot of the runners that he led on base. He did keep them from scoring. So great job to Tyler Anderson.
Yeah, it was good to see him pitch like he did in the first half. And No walks, Mike. And we talked about consistency with Jo Adell. It's the same thing with Tyler Anderson. It's got to be consistent where he can't be surrendering a bunch of free passes. And that's really where it comes back to bite him. Those walks always seem to come around to score on Tyler Anderson. And it makes sense because if guys are getting on via the hit, there's always a chance that somebody's going to make a play. But if you're just allowing these guys to, watch 4 pitches go by them, that doesn't do any good for anybody. And so just to see more consistency from Anderson as we head into the season would be really great. Mike, your favorite new reliever, Ryan Johnson, came in to relieve in the 7th inning. He got a grounder back to the mound for the first out. There was a base hit past shortstop, a pop up to third, and then a dribbler in front of Ohapi, who did make a great play and toss it over for the out. Mike, I was surprised because in the top of the 8th, Ryan Johnson came back out, didn't he?
Yeah.
And had a little bit of trouble. We haven't seen much trouble from Johnson.
Right. Leadoff double to left center, and then a 2-run home run off of Johnson. It was tight to the right field line.
I thought it was going to go foul. That thing was like, remember the Ken Griffey Jr. Super Nintendo game and how many home runs you could hit right on the chalk line in that game? Yes.
It would hit the foul pole, right? Yeah. That's totally what it felt like. Then there was an opposite field hit, 3 hits in a row, then a dribbler to the mound. Ryan Johnson turned 2. And then it looked like the runner might have been safe at first, but we got the benefit of that call. And then he struck out Manzardo on a 3-pitch strikeout. Then Ryan Johnson comes back out for a 3rd inning of work.
Right.
Swinging strikeout. Then there was a pitching change. And we both noticed the way that Wash was talking to Johnson. Did that make you think that perhaps he's making the team?
He's making the team. Yeah.
Okay.
The way he was talking to Johnson out there on the mound, it was like, I think he's going to make this team, Mike. I really feel like he does. Like the same way I feel about Tim Anderson. Like, all right, I think I'm starting to see it. Like, I think that I'm okay with that. Honestly, the way he was talking to Ryan Johnson after his outing, it really made me feel like this guy's got something. And I think the coaches see it. I think Wash sees it. I would not be surprised to see him on this opening day roster.
Yeah. And then Brock Burke comes in. We had a great little breakdown of him on Locked On Angels this week. He came in, finished the game, gets a pop out to first base, and then a comebacker to him, and he throws it to first base for the win. Yes, it was a split squad that the Guardians were playing against the Angels, but having the entire potential opening day starting lineup and having Tyler Anderson go deep into the game, all really good signs. And I know that offensively this spring, there's been a lot of concerns about the Angels not being able to put it together. I would say we just got to pump the brakes because now we're going to start to see the actual lineup. And we'll talk about that in the second segment, but we're going to actually see the potential starting lineup that we'll see almost every day. And so those 1-0 games, those 3-0 games that we're really frustrated with, if you go back and you look at those lineups, there were a lot of players that you don't know or you barely know in those games. And so this was a good sign to see the Angels lineup that is going to carry us actually knock in some runs and give us a win yesterday.
Look, I don't want to be the Cactus League champions again and think, oh yeah, we're going all the way, because none of that matters, as the Angels have been able to prove. So let's just wait till, again, a week from today, we're going to be talking about opening day in Chicago. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up, the Angels rolled out what looked like could be the everyday lineup yesterday. We just got through talking about that. We'll share that lineup again, and we'll talk about how effective it can be. We'll get into that in just a minute.
John, I need your help. You remember the old joke about it smells like Updog in here? I'm going to need your help. So you ready for this? Yeah. Hey, John, it smells like Upwork in here.
What's Upwork?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. Upwork is a great app that you can connect with. It's helpful for scaling your business and helpful for growing your business. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and so much more. And these experts are going to be ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable, and posting a job is free and simple. And within a day, you're going to have multiple qualified candidates to choose from. So visit upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today.
And today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. March Madness is here. FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before because new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters, Cinderella stories, who's cutting down the nets when it's all said and done. And if you've got your eye on a few underdogs this year, FanDuel makes it easy to back them up with spreads and totals and game props. Tournament games are happening almost every day. There's always something exciting to bet on. FanDuel app is, of course, easy to use, simple, and when you win, you get paid instantly, no waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on all the college hoops action all tournament long.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and we are Locked On Angels, and we're glad that you made us your first listen of the day. Now, we mentioned the lineup that was out there yesterday playing against the Guardians, and this lineup potentially is going to be the opening day lineup, and maybe the lineup we'll see pretty often. At least that's what Ron Washington promised earlier this week. So let's go through the lineup one more time, Johnny. Taylor Ward in left field leading off. Nolan Shonowell batting second at first base. Mike Trout in right field hitting third. Jorge Soler.
Sorry, that feels weird to see Trout RF, like right field.
Right.
I was just Trout CF for so many years. And it's just like, oh, yeah, double take.
Right. Soler's hitting cleanup. He's the designated hitter. Logan O'Hoppe batting fifth. The catcher, Tim Anderson, hitting sixth. He's the second baseman. Then Repthehalo at third. Adell in center. And Kevin Newman at short. Now, Wash says that he sees Luis Repthehalo as the number 2 hitter at some point, and we talked about that earlier this week. But for now, Repthehelo's still trying to figure out a swing after missing so much time with illness and an injury. But Wash said Repthehalo is going to be there. He's just got to get himself together. So he put Nolan Shonowell, Johnny, at number 2, and his reasoning was interesting. Why don't you share that?
Yeah, he said, I need somebody to think. So that's why I have Shonowell. Why did I say Shonowell? Shonowell hitting second. It was a Ron Burgundy moment. I'm just reading what's on the paper. He believes Nolan is good in situations and situational moments, like when he needs a bunt. Oh boy. Wash said it's swinging the bat as well. He's a guy I can trust to swing the bat. If it's a situation in the ball game where we need to tack on runs and Mike and Soler coming up, I have Nolan bunting. So, Mike, we're talking about bunting again.
I know.
We can't get away from it. We cannot get away from it.
Nope.
That's all right. That's all right. Moving on. What are the benefits and the drawbacks here to this lineup construction?
I look at this lineup as it was yesterday, and I'm not opposed to Nolan Shonowell being at or near the top.
He's done it before.
I just think that he does really well there. He's got a good eye for the plate, and if he continues to develop there, he's going to be somebody that's on base. Here's my tension, though, is Shonowell's just not fleet of foot. So you have a Mike Trout behind him and a Jorge Soler. A single's not going to score Nolan Shonowell. It's got to be a double unless he's at second base. And if he's at second base, there's still not a guarantee. So I do like a fleet of foot guy, a quicker guy up there. So I like the Repthehalo idea. I'm also looking at this lineup as it currently stands. And after O'Hoppe, I do love Repthehalo. I love his bat. If he's going to be there for a time, it makes sense. But I just don't see how that bottom part of the lineup doesn't end up being a bit of an issue for the Angels. Like there might be some holes in that lineup. Adell gets into a big slump maybe, or Tim Anderson just hasn't figured it out yet. Right. And then O'Hoppe has a game like he has yesterday. Like after Soler, there might be some problems there. And so that's where I'm a bit concerned with this. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I feel the same way because, after O'Hoppe, Anderson, Repthehalo, Adell, Newman, and especially if Repthehalo does go up to number 2, you almost think that maybe Repthehalo at number 9 so that you kind of turn the lineup over with him at the top of the order, and then you have Ward and Shonowell and Trout doing something with Repthehalo. Then maybe Shonowell doesn't have to be the guy who has to run. It's Repthehalo at the bottom of the order getting on base for Ward and Shonowell and Trout. So maybe there's something to that, but I'm with you. It's a little bit concerning. Again, if Adell goes into a slump, just can't find consistency. Newman, I think is going to be a high contact guy. That's who he's been in the past. He's also going to hit for a good average, but you have to take into consideration, Mike, that Zach Neto's going to be back at some point, isn't he?
Yeah. And so how does this lineup change with Neto? Now, we did hear from Ron Washington that Neto will probably be 5th in this lineup. And so does that mean that O'Hoppe moves to number 6 and everybody just kind of slots down? That could be an option. Also, I did see a few tweets. Jeff Fletcher from the OC Register said he thinks that when Neto gets back, he's going to be at number 2 again. And if Neto's at number 2, I'm not opposed to that either. But it does, for me, make sense if you do have Neto at 5, then it moves the lineup down a bit. And I don't know if it answers the question or relieves the tension that I brought up and you brought up about the bottom end of the lineup. But I don't think that there's a problem with maybe having Zach Neto be in one of those power slots because of what he proved and what he showed last season.
It really depends on, which version of Neto do you want to go with? Do you want the guy who, steals 30 bags, or do you want the home run guy and have him in that 5th spot to drive in some runs? So it really depends on the kind of version of Zach Neto that you want to have out there and what you're going to play into. I imagine they'll want him. I mean, obviously you could have him at the top and have him steal some bags, or you could have him, toward the middle to be the home run guy. And really, I mean, it all comes together. So I don't know that you can go wrong with where you put Neto. I think you really have to put him in a place where you can benefit from, like, I don't know, if Neto's at 2 and Sean Noel ends up at 5, and then it's O'Hoppe at 6, and then it's Rengifo at 7. You know what I mean? Like, I think once Neto is back, it really does extend this lineup a whole lot better. But what were you going to say?
I'm just wondering what would happen. Okay, so you have Neto in there, and let's say that Moniak is playing because it's a right-handed pitcher. I don't think Moniak and Adell are going to be at different spots in this batting order. I think that they're both probably going to be at 7 or 8, and then it really doesn't impact what happens with Zach Neto. But to your point, if I'm choosing what Zach Neto I want, I'm going to start with the Zach Neto that we had last year, the number 2 hitter that was stealing bags. That's the guy that I want. It sounds so sexy to say, yeah, we want him to hit a bunch of home runs and knock in runs. And he probably will do that. But I think where he was successful is that he wasn't put in a position where he needed to do that.
Yeah.
Same thing with Jo Adell. Don't hit for the power. We want you to use the whole field. I think that that's when he's at his best. That's why he was good yesterday. And so I want to put Zach Neto in a position where he's looking to spray the ball everywhere and he's looking to steal some bags, because I think that that's the best version of Zach Neto.
When you can't go wrong with a guy who can hit home runs in the 1st or 2nd spot in the order, and it's not, I don't want to say like he accidentally hits a home run, but it's essentially like you're not expecting a 1 or 2 guy to hit a home run. And then, you're up 1-0, maybe 2-0 in the 1st inning. And that's always a nice place to be. I think Taylor Ward certainly has the capability of doing that. We've seen him hit leadoff home runs before. Man, there's something about Taylor Ward I think is going to be, I don't want to say slept on this season, but I think that he will be able to just hit that fastball really well if it's in the zone. If he's disciplined, here's what I'm trying to say. If he's disciplined and gets his pitch in the zone, he's not going to miss it.
Yeah.
And he hits it hard. And I think it's a very underrated part of his game. So as we talk about this opening day lineup, I don't hate it. I also don't think that it's exactly where we thought we were going to be, considering, we would have Rengifo at 2nd, Moncada at 3rd, Zach Neto at shortstop. That's where we're going to go. And then we're going to have this conversation kind of all over again, to be honest with you. And to throw a wrinkle into the whole thing, Wash talking about Rengifo batting 2nd once he finds his swing again. I think that's a worthwhile revisit of this conversation. So we'll see how it ends up on opening day, but we do have a week to see how this all plays out. Worked for him yesterday. Again, it was against a split squad Guardians team, but at the same time, there was some frenetic energy, as you like to say, Mike, and I think that that's a very good thing.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
One name that wasn't in the starting lineup yesterday, John, was Christian Moore, and that's not a surprise, but he has impressed this spring. He's put up pretty decent numbers. Entering yesterday, he was slashing .244 batting average with a .340 on-base percentage and a .657 OPS and 41 at-bats. He's been kind of a part of this lineup, but hasn't played as a starter most often. They've kind of used him in different areas, but when they've used him for later in the game, he's been a part of two pretty big comebacks, including the first game of the spring. But what he's really done in impressing his coaches and his teammates is not what he's done on the field. It's something off the field, and it happened during the first week of exhibition games. Why don't you talk about it?
Yeah, Christian Moore kept asking his teammates the same questions about pitchers that he was facing. He would ask, "Hey, that guy any good?" And he would quickly get an answer that told him that he didn't need to stop asking. His teammates and coaches would say, "They're all good." And according to Moore, that answer was something that flipped a switch in my mind. Moore said, when you come into a game, odds are everybody on the diamond is really good at their job. That's why they're here. That was something that definitely flipped for me. So even though Moore asked that question, his teammates and coaches were impressed by the fact that he was being curious and asking questions and wondering about that. And they said that that's really helped him as he's developed as a major leaguer.
Yeah, so far, Moore has shown good plate discipline at times this spring. Now, his strikeout numbers are higher than he and his coaches would like, but Moore said he's learning about the pitchers and asking those questions, and it's helping him to know what this pitcher does well, what they don't do well, where their hot zones are, where they're going to throw the pitch. And he said it's actually helped him with his eye this spring. Wash said that when Moore first got to spring and was hitting, he was just letting it go. But then after some time, he started thinking. And he said even during batting practice, he was thinking, and that's just part of his youth. He was fighting it up there and not being himself up there. Now he's seeing stuff and he's doing things that are beneficial to him and beneficial to the team, but it's all brand new because he's seeing a lot of pitchers and he's seeing a lot of pitches that he hasn't experienced before. Wash said Moore's questions will help him to develop a whole lot faster.
Yeah, one of the things that Wash said he needs to work on is adjusting to high fastballs, and Moore said that high heater is something I definitely want to work on because that zone wasn't real popular in college. A lot of guys threw it down. You might get a ball below the knees, and I was able to handle that, but now it's kind of flipping. I'm looking at the top of the zone, so I'm working on that. So that's really interesting is that, you know, a lot of these guys want their pitches down in college ball, but we've seen how major leaguers can take advantage of the top of the strike zone, get you to swing through it, or even hit the zone and have you watch it whiz right by you, right?
Yeah, on the defensive side, Moore has gone through all of the wash drills that everyone is going through. I love that. He said every morning they would go out and work with Wash and Ryan Goings before a regular workout. And according to Moore, he said, I'm getting way better. I like that. He said, looking back at highlights from college and looking at myself now, it's night and day. He says, I love the process. I love the progress that I'm making. I never thought that I was a good defender. I always just relied on my athletic ability. So it's beautiful when you put in the work and things can happen. And Wash said that Moore's defense is making strides, and we've just got to make sure that he continues to grow and develop. He just needs more time on the field. He's a natural second baseman, so we're going to keep him right at second base for now. Now, here's a question for you, Johnny. Is Moore best served at AA or AAA this season, and then given a chance to prove himself and make the team next spring in 2026?
Yeah, that question about AA or AAA is really interesting because it really depends on how you look at it. Number one is in AA, he's going to face guys his age, his competition level, so on and so forth. But in AAA, he might face those pitchers that do use the top of the zone, right,
Yeah.
Mike, where they're working on stuff, because these are major league caliber pitchers who, might not be as good as they once were. Maybe they're in the reserves, something like that, right? Like we had Zach Plesac in AAA last year because he was in reserve, and that's the kind of guy that you might see. Somebody who's been there before, somebody who knows how to do it, but just isn't quite as good as they used to be. So it makes for an interesting question of, do you want more to be at the level of competition of his peers? Is he going to outperform that like he did in the very short sample size we got of him in AA? Or do you want him to go to AAA to face pre-major league competition and even quote unquote post-major league competition? I think that, oh man, I thought I had my answer, but now I don't know. What
I would say start in AA, because he didn't have that much time in AA last year before he got hurt, and then see what he does, and then you can always move him up to AAA, or you can just bring him to the major league roster,
right,
if it's inevitable or if there's an injury. And so I think you start him in AA, let him grow against those that are his same age, and then if he starts to really impress, then the AAA conversation is a conversation that's different than AA. AAA is, here's what we need you to work on, here's what we need you to focus on. AA is, I just want you to get better. I just want you to have rhythm, have reps, those types of things. So it depends on what kind of conversation they want to have with him. If I'm Perry Manassian, I start him in AA and I let him progress from there.
Yeah, and you think about what are we focused on here? Is it the offense? A little bit. It's facing pitching that he's never faced before and how they handle their business on the mound. But number two, really, it's about that defense, Mike. And so that you could do that in AA, you could do that in AAA. It doesn't matter where it's taking place. If the defense is an area that he needs to improve, which I think is the consensus about Christian Moore, then he can do that in either spot. And I think I'm with you. You answered the question for me. Thank you. I think I'm with you. Start him in AA. If you need to move him to AAA, if you feel like he's just, flourishing and he's got nothing left to learn there, I think he's still got a lot to learn. And that's okay. So he can wear one of these Trash Panda hats that I'm wearing right now and tear it up and get better and work on his defense and get, used to the kind of hitting or pitching that he hasn't seen yet. I think that this year will be a great year for Christian Moore. Give him a chance to prove himself. Maybe we'll see him up at some point, but again, this year of working on things will give him a chance to really make the team next year.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Now for your second listen, check out Locked On Fantasy Baseball. With our friends Matt and Dom, you can find their show on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, be sure you give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. If you're watching or listening, come on over to YouTube, find today's show, get in the comments section. We'd love to hear from you. We always do our best to respond. Mike, what do we have on deck for Friday's show?
John, is Yusei Kikuchi ready to be the ace of this staff? We'll tell you tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
I only hear what I want to. Yes, I'm ready to hear that he's ready to be the ace of the staff. Now, we'll have that conversation tomorrow. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Friday.
Catch Jeff Stoddard's dad joke on our show when he said, "You say Kikuchi, and so do I."